Boardroom off? Hello and welcome to the Toadstool Boardroom. It's December 17th, 2024. I'm Logan Plant, joined as always by Justin Corice.
What's up, Logan?
And Chris Shriver. Are you still extra this week, Chris?
Hi.
Wow, that
Sure.
was... Okay. That was quite the intro. That was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a beautiful long tone. Well, we're slow fading into Wario, which technically isn't allowed this week because this is our little special holiday bonus episode. It's the Toadstool Break Room, it's the Hidden Block, it's whatever you want to call it, but we're talking about anything but Nintendo this week as Chris chucks a giant
Already off the
Luigi
rails.
plush across the room. That was awesome. But yeah, we did this last year and it was a ton of fun to just kind of end the year with a little bonus for all our listeners to just kind of say thanks for supporting the show throughout the year and talk about some of the other games, TV shows, movies, whatever, life things that we want to talk about that strictly are not related to Nintendo, which if you've been keeping an eye on the news is a little tough this week because some fun stuff's happening out there in Nintendo land, but we'll get to all of that in due time in the new year. So Chris, I'll throw it to you first. Are there any games or anything else non-Tendo this year that you want to bring here to the break room?
I mean, how extra are we talking? I can go down the path of the Mr. FPGA because I picked that up, got that working on the CRT. I've been playing a lot of Halo Infinite.
Yes.
That sounds good. That's how we started last year's show.
It's true.
Let's talk some
I
Halo.
love it.
We like Halo on this show.
Yeah,
Yeah, we like
do.
Halo on the show. Yeah, I don't know what it is about this game. I think it's a very good dad game. Not just because it's nostalgic to me, because I played every Halo for the entirety of my existence, pretty much. But the seasonal content that they have, where they're rotating in these featured playlists, it makes it just really fun to go in and if I haven't played in 2 weeks, just they might rotate something in and it's the box of chocolates, you just don't know what you're gonna get kind of thing. So right now it's 1v1, and I'll just drop into a match, and all the maps are super clean cut, it's stuff people have made in Forge, and then 343 is just featuring it in the game as the primary maps.
Sorry, who's 343? I'm not familiar with them.
Never heard of him.
Oh right, yeah, sorry, what is it?
Halo
Studios now. That's
yeah,
right.
we
I
can
forgot.
talk about that too in a bit.
Yeah. But they rotate in these maps, and then you get there's different modifiers that are on each mission, or each round that you're doing. So it's best of 5, and it's first one to win 3 rounds is the winner of the 1v1 thing. And yeah, it's just super addictive. It's the first time in years that I can remember playing an online game with randos and DMing them after and being yo, GG. And other
Nice.
people are doing it to me because everyone's just who's playing it is really locked into it. But it's
the
super
360
fun.
era all over again. That's crazy.
It kind of is. Yeah.
Carry
But
on. You were saying it's
I've
super
just been
fun.
I've really been enjoying it. They're adding a snowball fight mode with
And
plasma
I'm
grenades.
glad you mentioned that because that went live 7 hours ago.
Did it really?
Snowball Fight is live today. I can't
Did
wait
you
to
play it,
jump on.
Justin?
Not yet. So I literally I got home 30 minutes ago. I had to jump on a quick call with a client, and I'm straight into this show. So I barely said hi to my wife.
Oh man.
But
Yes.
you bet your green Yoshi behind I'm going to be playing some Snowball Fight this week.
Nice. Yeah, I jumped into Halo this year too, and I'm playing through Combat Evolved on Legendary, and I know weirdly Justin was too. I don't know
Just
why.
finished
The Halo bug bit all 3 of the boardroom members at the exact same time, and yeah, Halo is just so great. And I
It's
think something that
great.
struck me this time playing Combat Evolved specifically is how cool Halo was when so much of it was unknown. And who are the Covenant, and who are these creatures, and what is this ring, and who created it, and why is it here? And just the mystery shrouding Halo Combat Evolved is so fascinating. And fast forward to where I think Halo really went wrong, which is the Halo 5 Guardians era, and most people I think would agree. And it became, you have to listen to this podcast, scan the QR code on your Mountain Dew bottle to go to the exclusive portal to watch the content about Spartan Locke that you need to know before you play Halo 5 Guardians. And it's just too much. And this extended universe they've built, cool for the hardcore super fans that care about that stuff and want to eat up as much Halo stuff as they can get. But for me, it's similar to something like Star Wars. Wow, what is this? It's just so mysterious and unknown. And Halo 1 is just awesome for that reason, because you don't even really know who Master Chief is. Just everything is unexplained at that point. And I just really, really love that idea of it. And revisiting it, I haven't played Halo 1, I think, since like Anniversary Edition came out over 10 years ago at this point. And going back to it and just being reminded of, oh, this is where it started, and this is how small, but because of how small it felt so big. And the possibilities felt infinite, pun intended, for you there.
The mystery is such an important part of a lot of games, and it's something that does tend to erode in sequels, and I think it's a big part of why the originals and things tend to stick with us. Like, whatever you can imagine in your head is often to you what is the best version of what that can be, and what they eventually write or produce frequently can't live up to that. I kind of, not to talk about Nintendo games, but I kind of feel that way about some recent Zelda games a little bit.
Yeah, that's a topic for another time. And we talked about Star Wars on last year's Hidden Block episode,
what a
too. I don't
bunch
want
of
to just
basic
repeat
nerds.
everything we talked about.
Yeah, really.
But it's the same there. It's like why people were mad at the prequels. I grew up with the prequels, so I love them. I love them to death. But I can see why you'd be mad to learn that Anakin as a 6-year-old boy built C-3PO and then became Darth Vader. I get that. I 100% get why you would feel that way.
That's why I'm not that excited about the movie Wicked. I don't care why she wears a pointy hat or how the dude became a scarecrow and things like that. Like,
wait, have you not seen it?
I have not seen it.
Okay, so like,
It's about to be a Wicked
most
podcast.
people know at this point, I am like a musical theater nerd. Like
I didn't
met
know
my
that.
wife. I met my wife doing a show in college. Like it's like a huge part of like my identity. Like growing up was like being a musical theater kid.
Wow.
And
So extra.
Yeah, so extra.
That makes perfect.
So
you know,
extra.
so much makes sense now.
With the jazz hands, yeah.
Yeah. But I've seen Wicked on Broadway. When I tell you, like, I really think they did a way better job than the live performance that I saw.
In the movie?
The movie. The movie.
I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Like, yeah. The way that they adapted it to film, that like is like not an easy feat by any means. They do it in a lot of just really smart ways. The last like couple scenes are just unbelievable. Like I like stood up out of my chair and clapped when it was over. Like I just loved that movie so much.
Are you one of the people that was going to get kicked out of the theater because you were singing along in a non-sing-along showing?
No, if it were male primarily, I mean, maybe during Dancing Through Life, even though I held myself back. But it's a primarily female-dominated show, so I like tend to, not sing during those for the most part. But if it was like...
You can provide the bass.
I could provide the bass, yeah.
Yeah. It's true. I also saw Wicked, and I am someone who has never seen the stage show, and I do know the story of The Wizard of Oz, and I really liked the movie. I thought it was good, but then as I was reflecting on it further, I was like, oh, it's like a lot like what I'm talking about with prequels. It's Solo. It's explaining why she wears the hat, and there's that light spoilers for Wicked if you haven't seen it. There's that scene where they're with the wizard, and they're picking the color for the yellow brick road, and they're scrolling through different colors on this wheel of colors, and then Elphaba says, oh, go back to the last one, yellow. That looked really good. And then the wizard goes, the yellow brick road. That has a nice ring to it. And it's just, it's the worst thing about
bad.
Prequels.
Exactly
it's
what I mean.
bad.
Yeah.
I liked the movie a lot otherwise. I thought the music was awesome.
But
I liked it.
So what makes that, because I haven't like listened to or watched Wicked since I saw it a couple years ago now. Might have been before COVID. And I was actually tearing up in the beginning of it when like the whole beginning of the movie is like the Wicked Witch is dead, and like they're singing a whole song about it in Munchkin Land about like it's similar to Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead in Wizard of Oz. And I found myself tearing up like during that scene because it's just like, because at that point I know what the show is about, and it somehow makes it that much better like upon second viewing, which I think is also a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, and then I'm really interested because Act 2s of musicals are usually much, much shorter, and they're doing Act 2 as a whole movie. Next year, it just got a title.
yeah, it will not be as good as the first one. I can tell you that. Most of the big songs are in Act 1.
Yeah. Yeah, but I liked it. But just that prequel thing, I couldn't get over that a little bit that Justin mentioned. It bothers me. Oh, like when the TSA agent gives Han Solo his name. It's the worst. And I might have even said that on last year's show.
Yeah.
But let's move on to something we definitely couldn't have talked about last year because it wasn't out last year. And that is a multiplayer game that is the non-Tendo multiplayer game I've gotten into the most in my life at this point besides Halo. And that's Helldivers 2.
Yes.
And Helldivers 2 is so good, and
so good.
I dropped it. I played it at launch. I played it for about 40 hours, and then dropped it when some of the patches came out that people really weren't a fan of, and it kind of lost a lot of its player base. I was among that exodus of people that kind of left because they just nerfed all the good weapons to make it harder, and I would prefer you buff the enemies, but still make me feel like this superhero, but buff the enemies, so I'm really struggling against a tougher wall to fight, rather than the incendiary shotgun I'm using loses half of its mag and reloads twice as slow, and yeah. So I left for a while, and then the Game Awards, there was a trailer for it, for a new faction that they introduced. It's the Illuminate, which was the main enemy in Helldivers 1, which I never played, but me and a friend jumped back in this weekend, and what a great multiplayer game. Helldivers 2 is just, it's so smart, I think, in pretty much everything it does. The friendly fire is just on at full force, so there's constantly killing your teammates, but it never feels frustrating. It does sometimes with strangers, but with your friends, it's pretty much always hilarious. And then using the D-pad to call in these stratagems and punching in up, up, down, down, left, right, up, and then throwing it on the ground and waiting for it to drop. It just all feels, it's so tactile and real, and it's just really engaging compared to samey co-op extraction shooters and first-person shooters and battle royales. Helldivers 2 just has so many ingredients that are so unique to it that I just can't help but think it's one of the best designed multiplayer games I've ever played, and I'm totally sucked back into it, and I'm having a blast with this new update. And Justin and I played Helldivers 2 at the start of this year together a little bit, and I've convinced him to come back in with me also, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I can't wait. The update looks really good. I'm excited about the new faction. I'm really interested. I love the way the factions have their own settings, like big arid desert world is totally different from Robot Vietnam, which is gonna be totally different from these like urban environments. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, I played a ton. If you watched any of IGN's guide videos about it, I probably made it. Like I did a ton of work on it, and so I can't wait to jump back in. It's so fun, and one of the things I think it does really, really well is it is an absurd setup. It's an absurd setting. The way the universe works is ridiculous, and it plays it so straight, which is what makes it so damn funny that all these ridiculous things happen, that you get absolutely destroyed by giant bugs vomiting on you, or your buddy's calling in his weapon and it just splats you in the middle of your combination. It's like, it is one of the funniest games I've ever played, and it does it by not creating any comedy. It just creates the environment for it, and it lets you do it, and my goodness, does it do a good job of that. I think that, like, I think if it had released in the latter half of the year, it would have been a very serious Game of the Year contender.
I think it would have won. I think it would have won at the Game Awards last week had it released in October and still been on that peak Steam concurrence and all that stuff. Instead, it didn't even get a nomination, which is a shame because it would have been so cool to hear that drop theme in the Game Awards orchestra because it's so awesome. Yeah. And also, it's a gorgeous game, too. It just looks amazing when you're playing it. I just love the art style of it and the god rays just peeking through the clouds. It just looks awesome. It plays awesome. And I think it actually does remind me of Halo in some ways because it is just this sandbox that you're dropped into. Yeah, exactly. And you just figure it out and you find your own solutions to these combat scenarios, and it's constantly overwhelming you. And I really like that because I don't like multiplayer games that much where you're just plowing through things like Borderlands, where it's just bullet sponges you are just pumping ammo into. It's not really challenging. It's just a way to hang out with your friends. I'm not super about those games. When you're on a call playing Helldivers 2 with your friends, you're not talking to your friends about anything but Helldivers 2 because it is just constantly
so much going on.
It's oppressive in all moments, and it's just the gameplay loop is so good and it's so rewarding, and finding the samples. And I even love the concept of you can finish the mission, but then you got to get out and you got to get back to the extraction point. You got to call the shuttle, and then you're in for the worst 2 minutes of your life, or probably your lives, because you're probably going to die and drop down a new Helldiver during that extraction process. And it's just awesome. And I really like just the idea that every character you drop is a new soldier in your army. It's not just respawning like in Halo. You died, you respawn, your Spartan's back. It's, nope, that Helldiver's gone. Here's the next one.
He's dead.
And they even have a different voice each time they drop down because it's a different person.
The fact that you have the option to randomize them when they come in, so it's a totally different person each time, is so good.
Yeah, it's just amazing, and just every little detail like that about it, I think, goes so far to create just an immaculate multiplayer game. Chris, did you ever pick this one up, or is this not one that you played?
I didn't play it because I knew I would like get addicted to it. Sounds like it looks and sounds like something I would just completely fall in love with. And for that reason, I stayed as far away. Same thing with Balatro. Like I played Balatro on a buddy's Steam Deck and was like, "Oh no! Like I can, never, I can never download this."
That's fair.
And I don't know. I want to play it like really badly. And I think my mind like forcefully like gets it out of there as much as possible. But because I love like dry comedy like that, like situational comedy like that.
Yeah, and just the way that like that they set up everything and the meta narrative they tell, and people getting really into fighting for Super Earth, and the social media presence for Helldivers, updating the soldiers on the status of the war and saying, get back in there, we need you out there on this planet, and seeing the impact you're actually making on the battle with those percentage points that tick up ever so slightly after you win a match. It's so cool. I love it. I almost feel FOMO for dropping off as long as I did, because I'm back in it now and I'm feeling, wow, I wish I'd stuck with this all year and this had been what me and my buddy had played all year long, and that Justin and I had kept jumping into it and we just didn't. And now it's a good time to come back in, but I know in 2 months, all I'm going to be playing is Monster Hunter Wilds. That is going to be all I play. So I got a couple months left of Helldivers before I move on to Wilds, which I can't wait for.
Did I see they're doing some sort of crossover with Killzone?
That's leaked today.
Yeah.
There's a leak for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that we know the details yet, but that could be really fun.
I feel like that'll be the thing that gets me to play it, finally, is when they do that.
Killzone. You're a big Killzone fan? I did not know
Dude,
that.
I love the Killzone franchise, yeah. Yeah, I miss
they'll
those games.
probably never make another one.
Yep.
No, they won't.
Their attempts to be a Halo killer have failed. Instead, the Halo killer was 343 Industries.
Yeah. Halo Studios is going to bring it all
themselves
back,
all along.
Yeah. Calls come from inside the house.
Yeah. I like Infinite, though. I'm excited to see what Halo Studios does. I think they could, bring the series back.
I wish they had supported Infinite's single player, like with DLC and expansion and built on it.
Were you on the podcast? I don't think you were. No, I think this was on Platformers. I think that's how long ago Halo Infinite came out. We one of the things that like we had kicked around, and I was like, man, I hope they do it, is like when you're playing Halo Infinite, you're going around and finding all these fallen Spartans, and they have like the last recordings of what they went through. And I wanted so badly for them to release like episodes where you play as them, almost like a Halo Reach kind of thing, where you're like,
or even like an ODST Halo, where you have those vignettes.
Yeah.
Or they there's one where they talk about like the Spartans like up on this mountain, and they like got lost in the snow and they like fought these banished thing. Like I wanted all of that. I wanted to be able to play all of that.
Yeah.
And then Infinite's campaign came out, and they were like, "Yeah, co-op's coming eventually." And then it's like, "Yeah, it's not what you want." And then they just stopped, and it was.
I will say, I played through that entire game Legendary on co-op at one point. It's pretty rad.
Nice.
Not balanced at all. It is not rebalanced for 4 players, so you just steamroll everything. Especially when you grab the Razorback, which is the Warthog without any weapons, and you load it up with nothing but Marines with things like the upgraded Sentinel beams. Everything just dies instantly. It's just, you just see lasers go in every direction. Everything evaporates.
That's so funny. Awesome.
Justin, anything else you wanted to bring up in this bonus episode? What do you got?
Yeah, so you kind of jumped the gun on me. I was looking back at my Xbox Wrapped to see what I played the most, and the game I played the most this year surprised me. It was Monster Hunter World. Nice. Oh my god! So when they were first talking about the new Monster Hunter, Capcom, like, they did this, like, it's not even a big campaign. They just, like, tweeted about it sometimes, but this whole, like, return to Monster Hunter campaign, and my god, did that work on me like gangbusters. And it seemed to work so well because the population skyrocketed, everybody jumped back in. So I put, like, almost 200 hours to almost 200 more hours into Monster Hunter this year. I got the Iceborne DLC, which I'd been putting off, played through a ton of that, and I'm like ultra end game right now. It's so good. It's incredible. We've talked about it before. Capcom, probably the best third-party developer in the world. And the probably is probably an unnecessary qualifier. I played a lot of the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. Holy smokes, that game is going to be so big. And it's going that is going to be, like, unless a GTA drops, which they say it's going to, I don't know if I believe it, that's going to be the game of 2025. I'm sure of it.
I think even if GTA does drop, Monster Hunter could still be right up there with it. Yep. Monster Hunter is a juggernaut at this point. Not in terms of sales, Chris Shriver, who's
I was like
howling at me.
Oh, well, okay. Not in terms of GTA sales, but, like, do you have any idea how much Monster Hunter World sold?
It's the best-selling Capcom game of all time. Yeah. It's still 10% of what GTA 5 has sold, but it is the best-selling Capcom game.
That was why I made the face. I was like,
Yeah, but, like,
I'm not talking in terms of sales or public perception, but just in terms of
25 million copies,
our circles.
Nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, that's true. In our circles, in the games industry and the year awards, Monster Hunter Wilds is going to be right there.
Can I pivot a little bit off of this?
Sure.
Justin, do you have other things you wanted to... Does it bother you guys at all? Like, there's no rules on the question
mark.
There
aren't. There's nothing. Except don't talk about a Nintendo.
That's right. Does it bother you guys at all? The hype around Rockstar games, just generally. Like, not that it's not warranted, but, like...
I mean, I don't think it is warranted.
Like, I think the systems they build are interesting and crazy, but I don't enjoy their games. Like, I don't enjoy the gameplay experience.
No, so, like, people talk about how, like, obviously everybody's played GTA 6. I haven't played GTA 6. I haven't played 1 second of it. I was
GTA 5, you mean?
Or whatever the most recent one, yeah. I was so bored with GTA 4, so bored. I had no interest in revisiting it again. Again, like, it is, to me... it is like the patron saint of mile wide and inch deep. It's got so much breadth of stuff, and none of it does anything.
Has substance.
Yeah, exactly. And I say that as somebody who, like, I played so much of the series. Like, I'm old enough to have played the first two, the British, like the top down, like the British one, where you can drive the Austin Powers cars. Like, 3 was a revolution. It completely changed our expectations for open world games and things like that. So, like, it's a very important series, but, like, it's frankly just not nearly as good as its reputation warrants. And like, I don't want to say that it bothers me, but it is something that, like, I scratch my head when people talk about it. And frankly, like, and I'm so glad that this is a studio that is able to support itself and makes a lot of money and has a giant staff that is well paid and please, like, get that bread. I have no idea why it sells as well as it does. It doesn't make any sense to me. I think a lot of the humor falls flat for me. I think it does a lot more punching down and deserves more criticism for that. I don't get it. Just put me firmly in the camp of I don't get it. I like Red Dead 1 and 2. I also don't think they're all-timers. I just like them. So
you guys are two of the first people ever that I finally have found a common opinion with on Rockstar games. I don't like them at all.
We should make a podcast.
Don't. Specifically GTA. I do like Red Dead 2 quite a lot. I don't know if I think it's an all-timer either.
The first chapter of Red Dead 2. And then when they open
I like the first one better.
I'm out.
That's the part people like the least, is the snowy part. Nobody likes that section. Yeah,
I just like running around the first one trying to find Javier Escuela.
I've never played the first one. I've just played.
Where's Javier Escuela? That's what you do for the first third of the game. Yeah. Just run around and yell at people. Gotcha. Where's Javier Escuela?
Gotcha. I wouldn't know. But Red Dead 2, I agree with what you said, Justin. The systems are awesome, and what they've built is undeniably impressive. Mm-hmm. But we get to a point sometimes in AAA games where impressive doesn't necessarily mean fun, and I think some places just lose that. And wow, the horse balls shrink in the cold. That's incredible. Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, okay. Why do I need that in this game? I totally feel that way. And then GTA, I just don't really have an interest in driving around an American city with a bunch of guns. It doesn't interest me whatsoever. I just don't want to do that. I tried GTA 5 just for the zeitgeist and didn't like it. I played, 5 hours of it, both the campaign and a couple hours of online with some friends. And yeah, I firmly do not understand it, why it's so hyped up. I think the games feel awful to play too. I do not think they control well or the characters feel good to move around whatsoever. I think they're clunky and yeah, they're impressive things, but I'm one of the only people I know at work that's not going to play GTA 6. I just don't care to. And
Could not
yeah, everyone says, "Oh, it's a lock for game of the year next year." No, I'm not voting for it. I'm
Right?
not
Not if I get a vote.
But yeah, exactly. It's just game feel is so important to me, and I just don't think those games feel very good to play at all. I'll bring it back to Monster Hunter though, because I just wanted to talk a little more about World, which and Iceborne, which Justin had brought up. And the further I get, every time I revisit my top, I think 25 games of all time playlist on IGN playlists every year or so.
Plug.
And every year when I kind of reslot things, Monster Hunter World goes up further. In my memory, it's just, I think it's my number 3 of all time at this point. It's just an incredible game. It's some of the most time I've ever spent in a single game. I think 450 hours in Monster Hunter World Iceborne altogether. And I don't regret a single second of it. It's just an incredible experience. I think Iceborne, what I wanted to say about Iceborne is I think it's the best DLC of all time. I can't think of any DLC that even scratches how good Iceborne is. It's basically a whole new Monster Hunter game just bundled on top of the other one, and you can sink more time into Iceborne than you even can into Base World, and it's just an incredible amount of content. And I feel it when a Monster Hunter game wraps updates, and me and my friend who I play it with, I go, well, now what? What do we fill our time with for the next 2 years while we're waiting for the next Monster Hunter? And this year we cobbled together Helldivers, and he played Super Monkey Ball with me and some other random things, but we're just waiting for that next Monster Hunter to drop because its loop is just unbelievable. And it's hard to even, it's like, I recommend anyone gets into it, but just know it's going to be one of the only games you play. If you start playing Monster Hunter, it's a lifer, it's a commitment, but it's just so worth it. And yeah, Justin and I played Wilds together at PAX, and it was awesome. It ran a little bit rough, but it's still an earlier build, and it looks big in basically every definition of the word. The new areas look huge, and the install base is going to be huge. So many people are going to buy this thing and be playing online, and yeah. This doesn't seem like a Shriver series, though, at all. I think we talked about it on this show. Yeah.
Not even a little bit. Yeah.
All right, Shriver, what else do you want to talk about?
Dragon
what else
kicking and screaming with us.
Yeah, right. So I weirdly have been getting... I wouldn't even say I've been getting into it, but like my Instagram feed has made me more of a Lord of the Rings fan than I ever have been, maybe in my whole life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So like I've always been a Lord of the Rings fan. Since I was introduced like as a child, but like I like follow all these like Tolkien meme accounts now that like most of my Instagram feed is just random memes from Lord of the Rings. And I'm like kind of bummed that Rings of Power like isn't really my thing. And I'm just kind of like hungering for more content from that universe, and I feel like I'm just not going to get it. I know they just put that anime movie out.
I was going to ask you, have you seen that yet?
I'm not going to get to watch it until it makes its way to digital. It's just, those movie trips are precious, and I only get so many of them, and I got to save it for Sonic 3. Like, that's gonna be such a moment in my life, like seeing that movie. I can't wait.
I know.
That's so this excited. Week, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes out on Thursday night. Yeah.
Oh my God, I gotta get tickets.
Yeah, it snuck up. Keanu has Shadow the Hedgehog. Chris, have you played the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games?
So I had been playing Shadow of Mordor, and so I got the furthest I've ever gotten. Which spoilers for Shadow of Mordor, because I didn't know this. The first time I played it, was playing it on PS4, and did not know there was a completely second section of Mordor that you go to.
Huge one too.
I was like clearing the map, and I was like, okay, like I think I'm getting to the end of this thing, because I think I put like 10 hours into it or something. And all of a sudden they're like, all right, you killed so and so, go, like, now we're going here. And I was like, what? Like, it blew my mind going to this other section, which I thought was super
in a
cool.
good
Like, I
way,
haven't
or
had
in a
moment like that in a
I'm
while.
ready for this to end way?
I mean, it was a little bittersweet because I was like, I'm probably gonna stop playing this because like, I had just picked up like Shadow Sonic Generations, so like I knew I wanted to play that. So like it's on the shelf for now, but like I plan on going back to it at some point.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of games that came out kind of at once that I wanted to at least dip into a little bit. But great
Justin,
game.
are you a
Like,
Lord of the Rings fan?
I mean, that's such a loaded thing because, like, it's one of those series where, like, the fans are a whole different breed.
Yeah.
I really liked the movies when they came out. They inspired me to read the books, which I've done so, and I really enjoyed the books. And so, like, you know, I'm enough of a nerd that I've got a pretty good recollection of, like, all the stuff from the movies and the books for the most part, and I really, really like them. So I would say I'm a fan in that way. But I'm, you know, but like a Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not like putting swords on my walls and stuff like that. Like I
Yeah,
have
I'm
a
not-
friend that does that.
I'm not quoting the deep text of with the Silmarillion or whatever the like big appendix
No,
thing is at
no.
the end, and like not to that extent. But I really, really like the movies. I think that's maybe one of the greatest adaptations of all time.
Yeah.
And like the books are fun. They're a really, really fun fantasy read.
Yeah, this is just I wasn't even planning to talk about this, but I was just thinking about movie adaptations recently, and specifically Harry Potter. And I think it's because I wrote the news story that they just cast Severus Snape. And yeah, J.K. Rowling, the controversy. Say what you want about that. I'm not here to talk about that. What I am here to talk about
I'll say what I
is
want
just in a
about that.
vacuum. It's crazy that they made 8 movies in 12 years, and that they
Yeah.
were all as solid as they were.
Yeah.
And that's never going to happen again for anything ever. And I just look at those, or you look at Lord of the Rings and the immense, unbelievable, unmatched care that went into those adaptations, that trilogy, and it's what happened. Just where did we lose it? Where did we lose this ability to make sustainable movies in a timely fashion like this? It's just kind of gone. It's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
it's movies and games to some extent, like because that's also not to totally change the subject, but like Naughty Dog making all 3 Uncharted games and The Last of Us in the time, you know,
In one console generation,
PS3, in
basically,
one
and have
console
now
generation.
made nothing since then.
right?
Yes.
Like I don't know. The movie one like confuses me though because I don't look at the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And there's things in the first few Harry Potter movies that look rough by today's standards, like the mountain troll in the bathroom in Sorcerer's
Yeah.
Stone. But like for the most part, like those movies do hold up. So I'm kind of like, why? What? Yeah, to your point, like what happened? Why does everything take as long as it does to create now?
Well, it's also just
to be
impossible
creative
to
now.
imagine like keeping a cast intact like that
Together.
through so much, like and like not just
And
the
not
main,
having a public thing happen.
right, and like not just the main 3, right? Like the extended cast is largely unchanged, other than Michael Gambon, I think is his name, taking over the role of Dumbledore at one point, like because the actor had passed away, and like that I couldn't imagine a project that ambitious happening today and being seen to fruition. And
They're trying. They're trying right now.
Well, and they have tried. Like there was like the Maze Runner series that
Yeah.
didn't work out and fizzled.
Yep.
There was the like Percy Jackson attempts, plural.
So many attempts of Percy Jackson.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did
Did the show get canceled, or is it still going? Because there's a Disney Plus Percy Jackson right now that I think is renewed. So I think there's a current
that's
I think it's
attempt.
renewed.
I think it's the most current attempt
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's-
and I know
it's
there's some
hard,
people
man.
thinking. I know there's some people thinking that the Harry Potter stuff they had to because the kids were getting older. Yes, that is true. Right, the 3 kids were cast as age appropriate, so they had to get it done in the time frame so they look the right ages in the movies. But still, it's just crazy if you look at the release calendar for that thing and you think, oh wow, all right, in a year and a half we'll have the next one, and it's just unbelievable output of that series. And yeah, I think that this Max series is going to be an enormous flop that they sink way too much money into. That's just kind of what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like
we'll see.
I think it's gonna be expensive. I think it's gonna be really challenging. I think that the creator of the series has squandered a lot of goodwill from most feverish supporters. I
say that, but like, because in my head I keep going, well, who is it for, right? Because like I think there are a lot of people of my generation, probably Justin. I mean, really, probably all three of us, that grew up reading those books and watching those movies, and now this series is going to come out, and it's like, how many of them are actually going to boycott it? How many people didn't buy Hogwarts Legacy? Like, that game sold gangbusters.
Yeah, I didn't, but one of the few.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
it was
and
the
you know
best
what I
game
mean?
of last
Oh
year.
yeah, you're totally right. But like, and I can only speak for myself. I am somebody who votes with my wallet. Like, I didn't.
100%.
Yeah, I didn't buy or play a single Activision game for almost 10 years. And it wasn't until like finally the Microsoft purchase went through, and Bobby Kotick and like the whole basically board got axed, that I finally like went out and downloaded StarCraft again and started playing some StarCraft. So like, and I'm just me. I'm only one person, but like, I mean, there are people who
doing that.
Yeah, who think it's important enough to try, and I'm one of those people.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch the series. I've moved on from. I used to be a super fan. I played the Lego video games, saw all the movies at midnight releases, and now I rarely think about Harry Potter. I haven't seen a movie in years.
Yeah, my wife and I were at the midnight release for many of the books when they came out, and read them as soon as they came out. And like, we when we got the 7th book, we literally sat side by side and read it like almost the entire book together.
That's awesome.
That's really sweet.
And now I'll be honest, like I can't repeat the things that we say about that author on this podcast. This is a family podcast. We don't want that little mushroom guy to hear it.
Yeah. It's not good for his ears. But even just expanding beyond just the world of Harry Potter, so we can move on. It's just thinking about remaking something so iconic. The movies at this point are pretty much as iconic as the books, and those actors as those characters. It's like if you recast Luke Skywalker and remade Star Wars Episode 1.
I mean, they'll do it.
Or 4, sorry, not Episode 1. Yeah.
And one thing, I think in terms of timing too, it would be like if you did that in 1992. Like we're not that far removed from the movies. The actors aren't like they're adults, but they're not like old or anything.
Chris, were you going to say something?
No, I was going to ask a more of a thought of, do you think they'll wait for Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford to pass away before they decide to remake A New Hope?
I think it will depend.
With AI at that point.
I think it'll depend entirely on if how much return on investment they think they'll get and when.
Yeah.
Who that? Yeah.
Surely a
okay.
finance decision.
I'm gonna move on to something completely unrelated now, which is which one? I still have several things. Let's stick with Harrison Ford.
I
talk about Indiana Jones.
Yeah, dude, I've been playing it. It's really good. It's really good.
What do you
like it? Talk about it.
So I've been playing it on the Series X via Game Pass. It is so good. I think like a lot of folks, I was initially skeptical of like the first person perspective idea. No, it rules. It's so good. I think the performance, like the voice performance as a pseudo young Harrison Ford, is like shockingly good. It sounds incredible. It's maybe the best looking game on the Xbox Series X. Like the lighting in particular is absolutely stunning. I'm only maybe 3 or 4 hours into it, so I'm still in like the Vatican area, kind of sneaking around in disguise. But like it is the sort of game that I wish I could show myself when I was like 6 and be like, look at what medium is going to become. And I was like, I'm not even doing the main quest. I'm just derping around, like solving mysteries. And I like am knocking people out with fly swatters and candlesticks and things like that left and right, and hiding the bodies. It is. I've heard people just like compare it to things like Hitman or Dishonored. I don't think that's that accurate of a comparison. It is a stealth game, but it's not a complex stealth system. It like you do get up on buildings and rooftops and things like that, but you don't do it with great agility or anything like that. It's like there better be a staircase or a ladder or a thing for you to hook your whip to. But like, Indiana Jones, he's not a ninja. Like he's a college professor.
It is very silly. Like,
It
I
is.
think that's like a lot of the actions that are being taken, especially with the melee stuff, like just finding like a violin and smashing it over someone's head.
Oh yeah, just like El bonking somebody with a guitar. I love doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes she's got to punch a Nazi, and it's such a perfect environment for it.
Yeah, I am surprised at how much I like this game. I'm really, really into it. I just tried it because it's on Game Pass. Sure, I'll pick it up. And I love it. And I think that the closest comparisons are Dishonored and Hitman because there's really nothing else like this game that I've ever played. It is unbelievable to me that a AAA first-party studio just made this game in 2024. And because it's just so weird. It's so non-combat focused. It's an Indiana Jones game. It's a first-person point-and-click adventure almost, but where you're actually
I think
moving
that's
around
the
whole
best
world.
comp. I think an adventure like I think Monkey Island is the best comp for this game.
Yeah.
Like it is very much about because like you are like you're gathering little notes for these little mysteries or you're gathering little objects. Like I had to solve one puzzle by like figuring out like the order in which to peel books back from a bookcase to open a thing to get some like coins or what have you. Or I found this big intricate chest and I had to figure out like how to open it. Then when it opened, the coin came out. Then I had to figure out how to open a different side of it and how to place the coin in it just right. It is freaking Monkey Island in a first-person adventure game more than anything else, and I love it, and it is so the right way for an Indiana Jones game to be. My question for you, Logan, is did you come into this with nostalgia for Indiana Jones? Because I definitely did. I'm the generation for that.
No, I don't like the Indiana Jones movies. I
that might
don't
be the
really
case.
like them at all. Yeah, I watched them for the first time all the way through in college, and I was not my generation, not for me, not my thing, and so I didn't really expect to like this game that much because I don't have the nostalgia for it. But it's just I do like Uncharted. I like National Treasure
like
1
Uncharted.
and 2 quite a lot.
Let's go.
Are you National Treasure fan, Chris?
There,
I watched
Really?
them
Of
this
course I
year.
am.
They rule. They're still so good.
Oh my God.
They're
awesome.
fun.
Let
I
Machine
hate
Games
those
make a
games, but they're fun.
National Treasure game.
Yes, I would play the heck out of that. There was
do
supposed
it.
to be a National Treasure 3 where Nick Cage found Atlantis, but it never happened. So make that as a video game, Machine Games. Yeah, cast Nick Cage. He'll do it. He'd show up for it.
He'll do
Yeah,
anything.
it'd be awesome. But
Or
yeah, so I'm
Los
not
Metas,
an Indiana
Tribeca
Jones
playing.
fan, but I just really like the snooping around mystery aspects of this. I like that Machine Games and Bethesda didn't just say, let's make Uncharted, but it's Indiana Jones. They didn't. They said, let's make an Indiana Jones movie, but it's a video game. And they nailed it. And I love the Metroid Prime feelingness of when it zooms out to the third-person view when you're climbing.
And
or
it's
doing
so
things.
seamless.
Yeah, it's great. And I just love how committed it is to this vision of what it is, because I don't think it particularly excels at one thing specifically. The combat's not that great. It's fist fighting. The stealth
great
is
fist
wonky
fighting.
and goofy and silly and stupid, and the puzzles are fun, but nothing you haven't seen before. But it has some X factor that it's just all coming together to be something I find really satisfying to
It's
play.
so charming. Yeah, the guards have like
Yeah.
PS1 AI. Like the
There
number
was
of
one
times.
bug I had where this dude he was looking me right in the eye, and I pulled out my gun, and he's just backpedaling for 20 seconds, just staring straight at Indiana Jones. He's just running backwards at full speed until he's running into the wall, and he's still doing it. And I punch him,
Yep.
I give him a haymaker right in the face, and he doesn't even react. And it's just broken, but broken in a fun way, not in a this is not enjoyable. It's just it's stupid and goofy, and it's great. Chris, you're playing it too, right?
I started playing it. I got it on PC, and then they updated the lighting in it. Like there was like a patch where it like used ray trace reflections, and it has just like killed the performance of my computer. Like to the point where I don't know if I can play it without like dropping the resolution like really low. And
There must be a setting because like
there's something somewhere.
it
Like I didn't
runs-
spend a ton of time on it.
it runs really well on the Series X.
But the reason I bring it up is on impulse, before I had gotten the digital copy, I ordered a copy from Costco because it was like on sale or whatever. And it showed up like later than I expected it would. And at that point, I had bought the game digitally because I was like, you know what? I have time. I'm going to play it. And I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I'm getting kind of tired of like if I want to play a game, I have to like mess with a bunch of settings. Like I just want to sit down and play the thing because I don't have a lot of time to play.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm really getting. I'm really getting.
Become a
tired
console
of it.
gamer.
Yeah,
He's a console gamer. That's
and so I'm like, do I just play it on Xbox at this point? Like I'm in the Vatican. Like I'm not that far. It's sitting on the floor here next to me, like in the return box. Like I'm shipping it back, and I'm just like, but now I have it 2 places, like, which feels like a waste. Like that's a lot of money. So I'm gonna try messing around with the settings a little bit. But all that being said, no, I think it's super fun. Like I love how goofy it is, like you guys said. I there's something to be said about like, I don't want to say a B tier game, but like a game that is just very much a video game. Like
I mean, it is a AAA B movie, which is so cool.
Yeah. Like I feel like the last one of those that we got, and I don't even know if I'd call it AAA. It was like single A. It was Until Dawn. I feel like was kind of in that same campy kind of caliber. But yeah, I'm just like I'm having a lot of fun with it. Like I look forward to playing it, but now I like have to figure out why it's not running well. Which kind of stinks.
Yeah, I will say I'm playing it on Series S. I don't have a Series X. I have a Series S. It's the first game I've played where I can see that I'm playing it on a Series S, and that's tough. It's fuzzy. It doesn't look great, and I know it's just because of the hardware I'm playing on.
The occasional puff of smoke from the console.
Yeah, yeah, it gets pretty hot playing this game. It really does. But yeah, it is a hardware limitation, and because people keep talking about how gorgeous it is on Series X, and I'm here on the Series S. Oh man, should I wait for the PS5 version to play this? Yeah, I don't know, because it struggles on Series S. I think that we're moving beyond the capabilities of that hardware, and maybe that's just going to turn into like a cloud streaming box at some point when games just don't run super well on it anymore. Yeah. Justin, anything else on indie, or do you want to bring something else to the table here?
So you know what game I've been obsessed with lately?
Delta Force.
How dare you?
Not so much.
Shout out to all the mean comments about my shooting in Delta Force. No, I
Justin's
have
very good at video games.
okay, like not to be arrogant, but I am good at video games. But I'm just I am
Humble brag.
Wait, and like we can go on this tangent too. I do not think it is important to be good at video games in order to cover them, right?
Oh,
I think,
sure.
If anything, I think in my ideal like sort of model for the industry, you have a wide gamut because people come in all different shapes and sizes and skill levels. Like, should you have a first-person shooter expert review a game like Delta Force? Yes. But there should also be reviews for people who aren't experts. There should be reviews for people who are new to the genre or who don't like those particular types of shooters. Like, there should be a broad range of them so that you can find reviews that can speak to you as the consumer. And so I was like, sometimes I bristle at folks who are like in the industry, who are writers who like will do the same thing. They'll talk about like, I can't believe they had this person who's not like the ultra genre expert about this, review this or preview this. Well, maybe not everybody who's going to read it is the ultra expert on this, and that's valuable too. Like, there should be both of those things available somewhere. Anyway, that's my soapbox. But no, I have I started the director's cut of Death Stranding about a month ago.
Nice.
And I loved Death Stranding the first time I played through it. Again, to me, it is like the most divisive game because people either like it is like an all-timer to them or they don't like it. And I'm very much in that all-timer category. And I'm around this time of year, I'm always looking for something that to kind of help me capture a little bit of like that winter holiday spirit. And I knew that the late game in this, you go through the mountains and you're in these big snowy areas, kind of like the beginning of like Red Dead Redemption 2. And so like I had a very specific goal to, by the time we were like getting deep into December, to be into the mountainy areas. And so I've been like charging through this game pretty hardcore to get there, and I have been there. So right now, like anytime I have free time to game just for myself, really what I'm doing is I'm just being the Amazon delivery man, dropping off packages in the middle of like the Rocky Mountains, and I'm having the best time running from ghosts, delivering the occasional pizza, medical instruments, and things like that. And like the more I play Death Stranding, the more I am convinced that it is maybe my favorite game of its generation, and that I think it is one of the most brilliant examples of video games as a medium, period. It
Can
does.
you elaborate on that a little bit?
I won't. No. Yeah. And here's what I mean. So, as a game, it thematically, like, Hideo Kojima, who created the game, coined the term strand. Like, it's part of the strand genre, trying to establish that. And in the game, you hear the terminology strand a lot, and it's effectively, like, the premise, if you haven't seen it, is that, like, due to global nuclear explosion, ghost disasters, I'm not going to get into it, like, people are largely isolated, driven into, like, individual underground bunkers and, like, small groups and things like that. And it's just these porters who are, like, willing to brave, like, the world and go from place to place. And so connections between people are largely cut off, and they're extremely isolated. And it was really prescient that this, like, came out in the middle of the pandemic. But, like, so much of what you're doing is not only, like, delivering these things, like, to connect people from place to place, but you're connecting these people effectively to the internet once you do so, which allows them to communicate with each other. And so much of your actual objective in this game is just to enable people to talk to each other again and communicate with one another. And there are times where you do it even more directly. Like, there's, one mission where a person thought his loved one had passed away, but she was actually, like, basically back home, like, safe with, like, her parents, and you have to, like, carry her, like, to the person who becomes her, like, husband and things like that. It's so, in addition to, like, the plot being about that, even the protagonist, I forget the name of the condition, but, like, he has an extremely deep phobia and fear of human touch, to the point where, like, he recoils in pain if somebody touches him. Like, you're sort of this person who's, like, connecting the entire rest of the world, but unable to connect yourself. And Norman Reedus, who plays the role, plays it brilliantly. But along the way, it does that, like, From Software thing where once you do establish a part of the map to the network, right? It also connects you to the network in that area, so things other people have done show up. So, like, you're crossing rough terrain a lot through these difficult areas. So somebody's built a bridge, you can cross the bridge. You can build these roads, and the roads cost a ton of resources. And my favorite thing to do in this game is just to, like, go to, like, one of my big centers that's, like, basically fully developed, that has, like, a lot of resources, load up a giant semi-truck basically full of materials, and just start building roads. And then, like, you get feedback when people use the road that you've built, and people are using your roads. Or in areas that roads aren't appropriate, you can build zip lines, and you get, like, likes and thumbs up from other human players who have then, like, used your zip lines to move around. And so the plot is about these connections and building these connections. The gameplay does it, and you as a player are building connections with other players as you go through. So you are involved. You are somebody who is connecting with people. It's Mamma Mia! Brilliant. And I cannot stress enough how much I think that this is one of the most thoughtful and well-developed ideas I've ever seen, that's developed in every aspect of a game. So, yeah, I like this game a lot.
That's high praise. That's crazy. I'll have to bring out the boardroom bleep for that one.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
The first F-bomb on the boardroom.
I regret nothing.
Very nice. Yeah. So
I hope that answers your question.
I have a follow-up question, which is that I know the director's cut added a bunch of stuff that kind of streamlined the early game and gave you crazier tools earlier, so you're not as much marching across the landscape and tiptoeing across, like, rock faces and things like that. Do you prefer the original version or the director's cut?
Yeah, so now that the director's cut is out, there's no reason to play the original version. You don't lose anything by doing the director's cut. And here's one of the really important things about it, too, is your ability to, like, build these structures and roads and zip lines. Like, they've added things like catapults that'll launch gear, and then a parachute will pop out for, like, delivering packages to hard-to-reach areas. It does a lot of really cool, fun stuff like that. But none of those things can be built until you bring a certain area into the network. So the first time you experience any area, you are still just you, isolated, on foot, with your backpack full of gear. And that
cool.
that too is like such a big part of the experience, just being thoughtful about like, the rough terrain, like you'll stumble, you have to manage like weight and things like that. And so like you have to like really know the areas extremely well on a really like deep level. And so you don't lose that experience. And it's important that you don't lose that experience. And then as soon as you connect it, and yeah, man, I'm like, there's this one giant section of the map where you absolutely can build roads the whole way. I was like, F it, I'm just going to build a series of zip lines and then interconnect all of the little, like, sub-locations off of it. So I've got this ridiculous grid where I just, like, connect to it and I just start zipping around. Like, it doesn't even matter if the packages are too heavy for me to carry. As long as I can, like, slowly, like, trudge my way to the zip line, then I just fly. There's, like...
Sounds awesome.
There's, like, bad guys who are trying to steal your packages. I just fly over the top of them. I'm like, there's ghosts around. All right, I'm going to just zoom right past the ghosts. I don't care. Nice. And it's so satisfying to you can also effectively just solve and break the game, and it's really fun, and you're meant to do that too, and then other people can use it. Oh, it's so good.
That's cool. Chris, you asked as if you are not a Death Stranding fan.
No, I wouldn't say I'm not a fan. I enjoyed my time with it. I think I started it on PS5. And then just ended up playing other things. I remember it being like the beginning of it being like a very almost like a Zen experience, like just kind of trudging through the landscape. Yeah. And it like I wasn't expecting that from like all the crazy off the wall trailers that we had like seen of it. Like I didn't know what to expect. And yeah, I remember just thinking like, okay, this is like a very chill kind of thing until it's not. I think the length is. No, I was just gonna say I think the length is like what got me is like
it's pretty long.
I was like, I don't know if I want to do this for this long.
I also love the story. It's got some incredible twists and turns that I'm not going to spoil, but like, I was like explaining some of them to my son the other day because he was asking, and like he doesn't care about the spoilers, and like his mind was blown when I was explaining who characters were and where they came from. It's also Kojima's pretty hard in it too. Like, there's one character named Die Hardman. And then you also find out his actual name is John McClane. Like, Kojima's pretty hard in this.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have still never finished a Kojima game or even played a second of one in my life.
Yeah, I also just finished Metal Gear Solid the first recently, so I'm going down the Kojima hole again.
Yeah, I recently made my list of games I want to try and get to next year, and Metal Gear Solid the collection with 1, 2, and 3 is on there because I'd like to see.
The first one's like an 8 to 10 hour experience, which is so great.
Nice. Well, we are about at an hour, so is there anything else someone was really hoping to bring up that we haven't yet? Chris, anything?
I don't know. Nothing that I'm like, oh my god. The
Nothing
drones.
You're dying to talk about? Okay.
I will tell you real quick, the reason why Death Stranding popped into my head is because Chris was talking about Shadow the Hedgehog.
What does that have to do with?
I know. I was hoping you would ask. All right. So here's the stupid way my brain works. So he's talking about Shadow the Hedgehog, which is played by Keanu Reeves, who is Johnny Silverhand in Cyberpunk. And one of the things they added was a really cool series of Cyberpunk 2077 missions in Death Stranding, where you're getting emails effectively from Johnny Silverhand, and it adds things like a certain number of like quick hacks and things like that you can use in the game that are like really effective and do some really cool things. It has a lot of really cool tie-ins. I love when stuff does that. One of the things I love about Monster Hunter is how much it extended the game with really cool tie-ins, like letting you play as Geralt and like dressing your Palico as Mega Man and fighting Behemoth from Final Fantasy. There are ways to do tie-ins like that aren't just like gratuitous and dumb and pointless, that are like really fun, like treats. And that's a couple examples of it done really well.
Nice. That is, I did not know there was Cyberpunk crossover in Death Stranding, but now I see how you got there. Yeah, I can't wait to see Keanu Reeves as Shadow the Hedgehog. It's going to be awesome. I guess the last thing that I would want to bring up is the Mariners were extraordinarily frustrating this year. Major League Baseball, it's in a rough place for me right now, and Justin's looking devastated. And I don't know, just the older I get and the higher these dollar values get that these players are signed to, and the more that the rich teams get richer and the New York Mets are able to,
Dodgers defer.
Yeah, they each shell out $700 million for a player, and then there's some teams that have never signed a contract higher than $70 million, and it's just, baseball needs a salary cap and a salary floor. They need a minimum amount a team could spend and a maximum amount a team could spend, because I just see it getting worse, and I see the competitive balance just probably getting worse over time, to the point where it's like, just do the Mariners even have a chance? And then they're notoriously cheap, and they've been extremely frustrating too. And yeah, it's just, this year I was really down about the M's this year. It just was not fun to follow. People are really mad at the ownership, and rightfully so. I am too. And it's just a bummer. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I completely agree. And like, I'm somebody who, like, when I never begrudge the athlete for getting paid, right? You know, they
me neither. Yeah.
Like, I mean, they are who the people pay money to see. Like, they are you know, putting their health at risk and things like that by doing it. So like, I take nothing away from like Juan Soto getting hecka paid. Good for you.
Same.
At the same time, like, it is really tough to want to follow baseball when teams like the Dodgers can invest many times more than your team's entire salary roll. And like, do things like defer it so far in the future that they just don't pay for it. There's like, and like, especially when you factor things like inflation and things like that, like, they can literally put a bunch of money in like an IRA somewhere, and that'll like accrue enough to basically pay for it when the time comes. And like, to a certain extent, I'm glad that the Dodgers won the World Series this year, because it is the first year where they really went all in on like ultra funny money. And because to me, it's the worst possible result for Major League Baseball to have them immediately win it, which is the only way I could see a potential change coming. Frankly, I hope the Dodgers win it next year and the year after, and it's not that competitive, so that Major League Baseball has to like change something,
do something about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and as somebody who loves baseball, I hope things like ratings tank and all that stuff happens, because it does. It absolutely needs a ceiling and a floor. I'm also a huge football fan, as folks who know me know, and like, the league for everything wrong with the league, it has really remarkable parity year to year, like which teams go to the playoffs, which teams are competitive. It's unusual, which is why teams like the Patriots or the Chiefs recently, who are like consistently so successful, are so rare. And it's like actually kind of a big deal when someone has such a successful program, and their salary cap and minimum salary has a lot to do with that. You can't just hoard all the best players on one team just because you got the owner who's trying to go in and win it all. And just because another team has an owner who's a cheapskate doesn't mean that they can't pay to field the team. Like the A's deserve so much better. And they're getting moved, but like, who even wants that team at that point? Yeah, it's really easy to be jaded with baseball right now.
Yeah, and no shade even at the Dodgers owners who are spending the money on their team. They're billionaires that are spending millions on their team, as they should. And then the Mariners are also owned by billionaires who are just pocketing the profit. And yeah, it's just broken. And Chris probably has a totally different outlook on this as a Philadelphia Phillies fan.
Yeah, because the team's actually won some stuff.
Yeah, but also like, Philadelphia fans are like really, really hurting right now across all, like, the entire landscape of professional sports. Like, we are just inundated with getting to the playoffs and losing, or getting to the championship game and losing, and have been for the last like 4 years.
Imagine.
Yeah, but like, I feel like if you don't even make it, it's almost easier, because it's like, well, I didn't have a snowball's chance in hell.
I'm sorry, I can tell you it's not true.
It's not like your hopes are so high, and then to just be like, the next day you wake up and go, well, life goes on.
Chris is Wario. Yeah, but it's like, it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all.
It's better to have loved and lost than to just have the losses, which is the Mariners. Yeah. One playoff appearance since 2001.
Are you kidding me? You guys are still fans of this team?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, we're suckers. We're totally suckers. Chris, not to take away from the
fools,
pain. I get
utter
what
fools.
you're saying to make it and come up short every year, but no, I can tell you to. And they were 3 years old. The Mariners didn't make the playoffs when I was 3 years old to when I was 23 years old. So my entire life, I had nothing. There was nothing to root for. It was the longest drought in professional sports.
Like, worse than the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, like all-time bad. But yeah, the Phillies have gotten dang close, man, a couple of times now.
Yeah, I'm real close. Didn't happen this time. The Mets. It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. Well, I can't say that. Because
Yeah,
Soto
you know.
didn't sign with the Mets, right? He signed with the
Eh,
Dodgers.
Soto's
No,
with
he's a
Mets.
Met. He's a Met.
Oh, he did sign with the Mets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, if you're still here and you haven't lost us after all that baseball talk, that we didn't really contextualize that well. I think that we're going to call it here. That is our bonus Hidden Block episode in the books for 2024. With my little bonus note that Survivor season finale, season 47, Wednesday night. It'll be popping off in the Toadstool Boardroom Discord with all 4 of us that watch it. Chris has a weird amount of judgment for my Survivor fandom. I'm going to say it. It's a weird amount of judgment. I don't know why, because he used to watch The Bachelor, and Survivor's way better than The Bachelor.
Whoa!
That's a lot of judgment from a
I
theater
still
kid.
watch The Bachelor. Okay.
Okay, that's
The
where you're
Bachelor
going
just
with this.
isn't
Okay.
on right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, he even titled the channel in the Discord for that silly show that Logan watches. It's like, what do you got against it, man? What do you have against it?
I thought, like, when I was growing up, like, I knew, like, my aunt watched it, and that was it. Like, I didn't know anybody that watched this show. And then I didn't even know it was still on. And you were like, yo, I'm a huge Survivor fan and have been my whole life. And I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't even know people were still doing that.
Justin, did you ever watch Survivor? Like when it was
Yeah.
new?
Yeah. When it was brand new, definitely watched the first couple of seasons. I'm not a huge reality TV fan for the most part. I will say, okay. You guys want to know some deep secret Justin lore? The one thing that I was like weirdly into when I was like in high school and college is like I really liked dumb dating shows. It's like the junk they would show on like
Next?
empty, like Room Raiders and Next and things like
Yeah.
that. Oh yeah, like I was always tuning into that stuff. So yeah,
Logan, do you
I
know
don't-
what Next is?
No, I don't.
it's so
Okay,
bad.
so
It's
It was an
oh.
MTV dating show where a
Okay.
bus would pull up and these guys would like have the worst bios imaginable, and it was always these like really bad innuendos when they were introducing themselves to the audience. And then there would be times like, so the girl would stand outside the bus, the guy would come out, and then if she like, there would be times she'd look at him and just be like next, and then
Yeah.
would move on.
Basically,
Oh my
the
God.
premise was you have like the equivalent of like the Bachelor, the Bachelorette, and then
Yeah.
I think it was like 5 potential date people, and they would just go in
Yeah.
order. And as soon as she or he said next, they were yoinked, and the next person just popped right in.
Just showed up. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
that
man.
sounds like trash, but I can see
terrible.
that being good trash, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
good trash TV.
I'm not proud of it.
Survivor, I've been going back and watching like the old seasons, like the beginning ones, and I like
Yeah.
the old stuff so much more. It's just back when it was more about just the people actually living on these islands and the beef they'd have with each other at camp about who was going to cook that night and how to build the shelter. And now it's so flooded with advantages and twists and manufactured drama, where the
Yeah.
drama in the old seasons is much a slower burn of these people that hate each other and that
I was like,
festering over 39
there's some
days.
hard ones too
Yeah.
before they figure out. Like, there's that one they did in the desert where like everybody legitimately like almost died. And then
that was
I forget
crazy.
I forget what season it was. There's also that one where like the one dude, I think he was like a fireman or something. He just won everything. He won every competition all year, just like belt to belt dominated. So I was like, all right, well, that's the least competitive season ever, but that was at least fun to watch.
Yeah, that's season 10, Survivor Palau, and that is Tom, the firefighter, that
Yep.
won that season.
Just
Yeah.
utter domination.
Yeah.
We used to be
And
big-
I
Big
bring
Brother
up
house, too.
Survivor to say that I think I'm going to apply, though, even though I don't like it in the modern era. I've applied like 2 times in the past, and I don't know, I've been feeling the itch recently to apply again and try and get on and just, I don't know, see how it goes. And see if I get on, which is already a long shot, and then see what happens if I get out there. Because,
That would be
I've watched
incredible.
the show literally my entire life.
I think part of my fascination with your fascination with this show is that you're able to have moments like that. Oh, that was Tom, the firefighter, season blah blah blah. Like the fact that you know that off the cuff, like in a walking encyclopedia, is insane to me. Like Jess does that with The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, where she's like, "Oh, well, that's Donna's season. She was on blah blah," and I'm like, I don't know. Like the season ends, they live happily ever after. They split up, and I move on with my life. Like I don't think about this ever again.
Have you ever spoken to Logan ever? That's what it's like
I
every
know.
time.
I know.
Yeah. No, Survivor, it's interesting because I've watched a lot of shows. Sorry, we're running a little long, but we'll finish Survivor and then
Whatever.
call it. I've watched a lot of shows in my life. We used to watch American Idol all the time. We watched Amazing Race, things like that. But Survivor to me has just always felt greater than the rest of them. It's just the others are shows and I watch them and I move on. But Survivor is like, that's history that it gets etched into my brain. Like you just said, Chris, like that's the one that for some reason is elevated above the rest. And I don't know, it also is one of the grandfathers of reality TV. Like if you look at the most watched telecasts of all time in US history, the Survivor season 1 finale is still in like the top 5 of like non-sporting events. Like millions, tens of millions of people tuned in to watch the finale of that first season. It was a phenomenon, and then it has propelled them to almost 50 seasons. And yeah, it's just all in my brain. There's some I don't remember as well as others. Justin happened to mention one of the first seasons I like vividly remember watching as a kid. But yeah, it's just I want to get out there. Even though I think the show is kind of a shell of its former self, I still would like to try it and just see what happens. Because now if you watch Survivor, it's all like, and this would be me too, which is the struggle is like, I've been watching since I was 2 years old. I love the game so much. I'm going to be one of the best players of all time. And you watch season 3 back before there was a legacy to it. And it's just people marooned on a beach that don't really care about the show they're on. They don't care that they're on TV. And it's just watching what happens. It's just electric. I sometimes feel a longing for being around at the start of something like that. Like now everything is so established and there's never going to be like another Survivor that comes along because there's so much content just being thrown at you all the time. For something to stick to the wall like Survivor originally did, I just feel like that doesn't really happen as much anymore. And yeah, it's fun to watch the old stuff. Like there's a guy who lied and said, this is like a legendary moment. This stuff doesn't happen anymore. They had their family that used to visit them halfway through the season on Survivor. And this guy named Johnny Fairplay, his grandma or his brother came to visit, and he told him like his grandma passed away while he was out on the island. And that was an elaborate lie that they concocted before the season started to try and get him some sympathy. Like this guy's just a jerk. And then his brother rolls in and he's in on it and he's like, Grandma didn't make it, John. And then he like breaks down crying, and then it goes to his confession. And he's like, this is fake, this is contrived, I'm trying to get some sympathy from like my fellow castaways. It's just like crazy stuff. Like Survivor rules. It's just awesome. Man. Yeah, nothing like that happens anymore. Now it's just everyone trying to boost their social media following and their podcast and
I mean that's that. Really it is like everybody's just trying to establish celebrity coming out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, it's the golden era of that's gone. But this show has reached its end. Thanks so much for listening to our Hidden Block episode for 2024. It was fun. We hit mostly different topics. Halo is probably going to come up every year.
It'll come up
but
next
a year from now, I could see Halo on a Nintendo platform, so maybe it won't be Nintendo anymore. And we could just talk about it openly whenever we want. But Justin, anything you want to shout out here at the end of the year?
Oh God, I had something and I completely forgot it. So I don't know. Check out my Delta Force review. That's completely up and done.
Is there an interview going up at some point soon?
Actually, yeah. I think that interview does go up soon. In fact, I think I saw my editor actually get into it and start editing it today. So keep an eye on Rolling Stone for a Suda51 interview at some time in the future, which is really, really cool.
Oh, cool! You said the name. Awesome.
Yeah, I did. So F it. Just keep an eye out for that because that's one of the coolest. They gave me 2 full hours with Suda51, which was incredible. Amazing. I got to ask him so many questions about so many things about his process, his style. We talked about Gundams. It was great. Nice. So do that. So cool.
This is the No More Heroes guy, by the way, if you don't know.
Yeah. Like so much more than that. Killer 7, Shadows of the Damned. Like you can go down the list. So very cool guy. I think that's it.
Cool. Chris, how about you?
You can find me at Tribes93. I've deleted X from my phone. I don't plan on being on there much anymore. I don't know if the boardroom will be on there much. Not the boardroom tweets that much, but but no, we're on Blue Sky. Yeah, I was seeing too many, I'll say, disturbing images for my liking every time I opened up that app, and it was making me big sad. So I'm just done with it. But otherwise, no. I mean, I'm prepping for Christmas. It's a big one. So
awesome.
We're in the throes of it. I hope everybody has a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and get some R&R in there, and play some games, spend time with the family.
Yeah. You can find me on Blue Sky at Logan J. Plant, and find the show on Blue Sky at Toadstool Boardroom. I'll shout out. I didn't talk about Nintendo here, which you know me, it's tough not to. But I am talking Nintendo on NBC this week. We are going to crown the best Nintendo game of the year. Speaking of, I did our video and article for that over at IGN.com, where the votes are in for us, and we picked a winner for the best Nintendo game, and it might not be what you think I would pick, which is true. So go check that out.
Ocean.
And what'd you say?
Endless Ocean.
Endless Ocean.
Endless Ocean. Okay, I thought it was going to be a Brothership joke, which I'm over at this point. So that's a good one.
No.
That's a nice twist. That's good. And then, we're really excited for next year. It's going to be huge. So rest up over the holidays, because if you've been following the rumor mill, there is some stuff to talk about in 2025, and we can't wait. But for now, that's all the time I got. I got to get back to playing Halo Infinite on my Xbox Series S. Have a great week. Thanks so much for listening. Happy holidays, and we'll catch you in 2025 in the Toadstool Boardroom. But until then, boardroom off.